Forget standard history. 4,000-year-old Indian texts don't just describe mythology. They detail flying machines with pilot cockpits, complex propulsion systems, and weapon controls. Are these just ancient stories, or blueprint of a suppressed advanced civilization? What if ancient texts hold more than just spiritual wisdom? For centuries, the Vedas have been seen as sacred scriptures of India, filled with chants, rituals, and philosophy. But hidden among their verses are strange descriptions of flying machines, aerial battles, and technology far beyond their time. These flying objects, called vimanas, have fascinated researchers, believers, and skeptics alike. Could these ancient stories be based on real events, or are we simply interpreting metaphor as fact? In this video, we will explore what the Vedas really say, how they describe vimanas, and whether any of it could be more than myth. We will also look at epic texts like the Mahabharata and Ramayana and examine archaeological and scientific perspectives. What you are about to discover may challenge your understanding of history and technology.
The term Vimana appears in many ancient Indian texts, including the Vedas and later epics. It is often translated as chariot or flying palace. Descriptions vary, but some mention Vimanas rising into the sky with great noise and light, controlled by thought or special commands. Some texts even describe different types of Vimanas, some designed for war, others for travel. In the Rig Veda and Yajurveda, there are references to vehicles moving swiftly through the air. While many scholars view these descriptions as poetic metaphors, others believe they could be literal accounts of advanced technology. The idea is controversial, but the level of detail in these writings cannot be ignored. They speak of propulsion, aerial navigation, and even protective shields. Some claim this proves a lost ancient science, while critics argue it is the result of mistranslation or symbolic storytelling. Still, the debate continues, and the mystery of Vimanas remains open for interpretation.
When we turn to the Vedas themselves, the language is often complex and symbolic, but certain verses seem to go beyond myth or metaphor. They mention structures that fly, produce fire, and move without animals or wheels. These descriptions raise a difficult question. Were the writers imagining the impossible or recording something they saw? The Vedas are among the oldest texts known to humanity. If they contain clues about lost technology, that would change how we view ancient history. Of course, interpretation matters. Many words have more than one meaning, and context can be difficult to establish. Still, some descriptions are strikingly technical.
In the Rig Veda, one hymn describes a flying chariot powered by the wind and controlled by the mind. Another verse speaks of a golden bird that carries people through the sky. In the Yajurveda, references are made to machines that move through the air with great energy. These descriptions sound more like mechanical devices than symbolic poetry. Some passages refer to multiple levels, compartments, and instruments inside these vehicles. There are even suggestions of routes, destinations, and specific flight patterns. Scholars debate whether these words were meant to be taken literally. Traditional interpretations view them as metaphors for spiritual journeys or divine powers, but others argue that ancient writers may have been describing something real, just using the vocabulary of their time. It is difficult to say for certain what they saw or meant. However, the consistency and technical nature of these verses continue to spark debate, and that debate invites us to look more closely at these sacred texts.
The Vedas are not the only source of strange aerial descriptions. The epic texts Mahabharata and Ramayana also speak of flying machines and weapons of enormous power. These stories include vivid scenes of battles in the sky, energy beams, and massive destruction. At first glance, they seem like mythology. But some researchers argue that they resemble modern concepts of aerial warfare and advanced weaponry. If these were only stories, why are the descriptions so specific? The texts mention blasts that blind, weapons that target entire armies, and shields that protect cities. These details sound more like science fiction than ancient myth, but they have been written and preserved for thousands of years. So we must ask, what inspired them?
In the Mahabharata, a powerful weapon called the Brahmastra is described as capable of destroying entire regions. The explosion causes intense heat, deafening noise, and severe environmental damage, similar to modern descriptions of nuclear warfare. The text mentions radiation-like effects, such as hair and nails falling out, and water becoming undrinkable. In the Ramayana, the Pushpaka Vimana is a flying craft used by the god Rama. It could travel long distances in a short time and carried multiple passengers. These details suggest more than just mythological imagination. Ancient Indian epics describe flight control, propulsion systems, and destructive energy with unusual clarity. Some researchers believe these stories are based on real events, recorded in symbolic language. Others say they are spiritual metaphors taken too literally. But the fact remains, these texts contain consistent themes of technology and warfare, far beyond what we expect from their time. Whether fact or fiction, they reflect a complex understanding of the world, and that understanding invites further investigation.
Across many texts, Vimanas are not just mentioned, they are described in detail. Some are said to be made of specific metals and shaped like birds or spheres. They often include multiple levels, inner rooms, and control mechanisms. The descriptions are mechanical, not magical. Some stories speak of engines powered by solar energy, mercury, or unknown elements. These ideas raise a question. Did ancient people truly imagine all this, or were they preserving a memory of something real? It is difficult to say for certain, but the engineering language used in these texts is hard to ignore. Let us look at the structure and function of Vimanas as described in ancient records.
The Samarangana Sutradhara, a Sanskrit text on architecture from the 11th century, includes instructions for building flying machines. It speaks of durable materials, energy sources, and flight control systems. One passage mentions mercury and a strong blast of wind used for propulsion. Other texts describe vertical takeoff, hovering, and silent movement through the air. Some Vimanas are circular, others are rectangular or pyramid-shaped. They are said to travel between cities, planets, and even realms. The variety of shapes and flight styles suggest detailed technical imagination, or possibly memory of something observed. These machines are not described as divine miracles, but as human or divine creations with engineering logic. The language is surprisingly consistent across different texts and time periods. This consistency makes it difficult to dismiss the idea entirely. Whether myth or memory, the descriptions are remarkably advanced.
Stories are one thing, but physical evidence is another. If Vimanas were real, could we expect to find traces of them? So far, no confirmed artifacts have been discovered that prove the existence of flying machines in ancient India. But that does not mean the idea is without support. Archaeologists have uncovered advanced city planning, water systems, and metallurgy in ancient Indian civilizations. These findings suggest a high level of technical knowledge. Could some of this knowledge have been used for flight? Perhaps evidence was lost over time, or perhaps we are not looking in the right places. Let us see what archaeology has revealed so far.
Sites like Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa show signs of advanced infrastructure from thousands of years ago. The cities were laid out with precision, featuring drainage systems, standardized bricks, and complex buildings. Tools and materials found there show skill in metallurgy and construction. While no Vimana has been found, the technical level of these societies is often underestimated. Some researchers argue that oral traditions and texts reflect a deeper technological culture. Others caution that no direct evidence supports the flying machine claims. However, the possibility of lost knowledge remains. Earthquakes, invasions, and time may have erased physical traces. Still, the sophistication of ancient Indian engineering leaves open the question: were they capable of more than we currently know?
Understanding ancient texts requires more than just translation. It requires interpretation. And that is not always simple. Words meant as symbols can be taken as fact, and facts can be lost beneath layers of belief. Scientists look for data, while spiritual texts speak in metaphor. The key may be to respect both approaches. Perhaps ancient myths carry real insights, told through the language of symbols, or perhaps we are seeing what we want to see. Either way, the search for truth continues.
Modern science demands evidence, repetition, and measurable outcomes. Ancient stories speak in symbols, visions, and metaphors. Bridging these two worlds is not easy, but it is necessary if we want to learn from the past. Many myths hold fragments of historical truth, hidden in poetic language. It is possible that Vimanas are metaphors for spiritual ascent. It is also possible that they reflect memories of lost knowledge. Some scientists are beginning to study ancient texts with new tools and open minds. The goal is not to prove myths literally, but to understand what they might mean. By combining archaeology, linguistics, and astronomy, researchers hope to uncover forgotten connections. In the case of the Manas, the truth may lie somewhere between science and story.
As we have seen, the idea of flying machines in ancient India is not just based on fantasy. It comes from detailed texts, preserved through centuries of tradition. But do these texts describe real technology or imagined journeys? That is a question that scholars, scientists, and thinkers continue to debate. What is clear is that ancient India had a complex and rich understanding of the universe. Whether symbolic or literal, their stories reveal deep curiosity and intelligence. And maybe that is where the true mystery lies. Not just in whether Vimanas existed, but in how ancient minds reached so far into the sky. Their legacy challenges us to keep asking, keep exploring, and never stop wondering.
The idea of ancient flying machines touches something deep in the human imagination. It suggests that our ancestors were not only dreamers, but also engineers and thinkers. The Vedic texts, epics, and architectural treatises together paint a picture of a world both mystical and mechanical. Even if Vimanas never flew, the knowledge behind them still deserves attention. These stories encourage us to look at history with new eyes, not just to confirm what we know, but to question what we might have forgotten. Ancient India's vision of the skies remains one of its most intriguing gifts. Whether real or symbolic, it speaks to our shared human desire to rise above the earth. And that makes the search itself a kind of flight toward understanding, discovery, and awe. The mystery remains, and so does the wonder.
The idea of flying machines in ancient India challenges everything we thought we knew. It blurs the line between history, legend, and possibility. The Vedas, the epics, and ancient architecture all contain clues, if we are willing to look closely. Whether these stories are fact, symbol, or something in between, they open a door to a deeper understanding of the past. Exploring these mysteries shows us that knowledge can come in many forms. If this video made you think differently, I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Your voice helps keep these conversations alive. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications for more stories like this. There is still so much to discover, and together, we will keep asking the questions that matter. Because sometimes, the oldest stories hold the newest truths.